Okay, so our next job on this HTML form is to validate it. So you created a form a little bit like this last time. Hopefully, I really hope that you've tried to use your own sort of fields, because if it's just a little clone of this one, it won't be of a past standard. I won't accept it through. So make sure you haven't got the same fields as me, that you've got like first name and surname and whatever else, but don't make it a clone. Otherwise, I'm not going to accept it through your coursework. So be careful about that, please. So what we're going to do is validate this. When you remember validation from the first year, we validated database forms in the first year. And from Unit 1, you remember presence checks, format checks, and all that sort of stuff as well. So you understand what validation is. It reduces input errors, and that's what we're going to try and do with this. If we were in college, I would be doing this with JavaScript, but because we are not in college, I'm going to do it in a simpler way, which is HTML5. If you want to use JavaScript, you go ahead, but you will have to debug it yourself. I'm just going to provide you with resources for the simplest way of validating, which is HTML5. So we're just going to have a look at this form. So basically, I've put these little stars beside these three fields to indicate that entry is required. So these are presence checks. But if I submit the form at the moment, the form will be submitted with no data in there. So we want to make sure that the presence checks are working. In the name field, I also want a minimum and maximum length, so a length check in there. I want a format check in the email address, which will make sure that it's in an email format. And this is going to be a required field. And also in this one, we're going to make a little improvement. So when we click in and start typing, that this sort of preview text actually disappears and we can put our own message in. So we're going to make improvements to our form. So I'm going to head into my editor here. And the first thing I'm going to do is go into the name field and make this a required field. So this is what we want. Input type is text. So I'm just going to put in required with a space and save that, and then head back into Chrome, microphone, and have a look at what that has done. So I'm just going to refresh that. And now you can see that it's come up with an error message. Please fill in the field, which is good, exactly what we wanted. So we've got a required field in there now. And now we want to have a min and max length. So I'm just going to put in the code for that. It's dead simple stuff, this. Sorry, that's my cat flap. The cats are going crazy. I'm sure you wanted to know that. So min length, I'm going to have 2 characters. So let's have a quick look and see if that has worked. By typing in just 1 character and then trying to submit it, would help if I refreshed first. Let's try that again. So now it's given me the message that it has to be at least 2 characters long. So I know that my length check has started to work. Excellent. So these are all the sort of tests that you could sort of do in your testing section. And then we're going to put in a max length as well. I'm going to put something stupid in at the moment and then change it to something sensible just to show you how it works. So max length 4 would not be a good and sensible field length, but we're just going to pop that in now. So now if I type in, it will not allow me to type in more than 4 characters. So I can see that that is now working as well. Brilliant. So I'm just going to put that up to something a little bit more sensible and move down to the next field. Now this is the email address, this one here. So HTML5 is quite clever. It has some inbuilt validation rules. So I'm going to go across to input type and change where it says text into email. Save that and refresh this. So now I need to put something in here. So whatever. And now if I type in something stupid, submit that, and HTML5 will automatically give me a message, which is really great. So if I now put in me@gmail.com, it will accept it. So it's now forced it to be a proper email field. So that's a format check. I'd also want this to be a required field, so I would type in required there, like we did on the first one. Now, with this text area, as I said, the problem is that when we type into it, we want to make an improvement. So this kind of preview text actually disappears when we start typing in. So I'm going to rewrite my code and make a few little improvements to it. So here we are with the text area. So I'm just going to take out my text area as it is, which is that little bit there. And I'm going to have text area, and I'm going to, if you remember, columns and rows allowed us to adjust the size of the text area. So I'm going to do exactly the same as we had before. Rows 3, columns, there we go. This time I'm going to try this other bit of code called placeholder, and then put in a bit of text. Oopsie. So let's just end that and end text area as well. Okay, let's see if that works. So now, refresh that. So here's my text, my placeholder. So if I click in and start typing, ooh, look at that. The text will disappear. So that's a nice little improvement if you want to use that. Let's just take it out for a second and let's try and submit it. So we still haven't got a presence check on there, so we need to go back in and make that a presence check as well. So back into here, required. Like we did for the other ones. Okay, let's see. Now, hopefully, if I click on submit, it should say, please fill in the field. Great. And there we have it. So that is very, very basic HTML5 validation for forms. The other thing that I added, if you want to, there's lots of other stuff you can do. If you look this up online, there are 100 resources that you can use. The only other thing that I added was a little bit of CSS, but actually I'll do that in another video. So for now, if you could go through your form, work out sensible validation rules, think about where presence checks need to go, where length checks and format checks, and have a go at applying those, please, carefully. Go onto Google and just search HTML5 validation form, and you will find a million resources, and I'll put a couple of links on our study directory as well. Good luck with that.